Hi, Maria here. I think I did mention that I'm camera shy, so I asked for help. Talking in front of camera is one thing, but put me in front of a real person, preferably an intelligent one, and I can happily talk about immigration law, strategy, solutions for hours. Which brings me to my business partner, Mary Nirenberg, the president of our company. We've worked together for 19 years, survived business opening, impossible timelines, and enough immigration stories to write a bestseller. She's the come to my overthinking and somehow manages to ask all the right questions while it make it look effortless. Together, we bring experience, a healthy sense of humor, and shared commitment to helping our clients navigate immigration process without making it complicated than it needs to be. Without further ado, Mary.
Well, thank you. That was a lengthy introduction. I hope I deserved it. This way of doing business is very strange for me as well because I'm of a generation ahead of you. So it's hard to switch from what I know how to do business and how to work and to this format. But I'm hoping that I can do a better job than I think I will. I'd like to mention that we do have another partner who is a very lovely lady as well, but she's even more camera shy than you and I. So at a later date, we will be introducing her, hopefully, if I can talk her into it. Having said that,
I thought
yeah?
I thought that you, as a great storyteller, would be able to tell our story, how we opened, how we happened, how we met best.
How we met. We met, interestingly enough, while I was employed at a very large and renowned immigration law firm. I'm not here to advertise them, so I'm not going to mention their name, but I was looking for an assistant at the time, and some friends of mine had told me that you were working with them and that you were not happy. And we met and we spoke and we fell in love. That's how I see it. Maybe you have a different recollection. And we worked together for how many years before we took that?
5 years.
Before we got engaged. 5 years?
5 years.
5 years. And notwithstanding the very different walks of life that both of us took, different generations. Obviously, you know what I'm thinking about age nowadays. Different generations, different approaches. Everything was very different. And yet, I found that we found something very important in common, something that has carried us for 19 years. I believe it was the mutual respect, understanding of one another, and a true desire to make life as simple and as happy as we can for one another. This is how I see it.
Well, if I can add a picture to that first meeting, I came for an interview, Bay Street, 28th floor, which was intimidating on its own. And there you come out in a red suit. I'm like, oh my God.
Sounds like something I would do.
So that's how it started.
Yeah, so I don't know how you felt. I didn't think the floor was intimidating. But I thought I would just talk to you and have a feel of what the energy is about, what your expectations are. My main goal was to know whether we were going to get along or not. So I'm still trying to figure out.
And I truly believe this is like one of your strongest suits is being able to have like a simple conversation with person about anything and everything, talking about simplest things, but getting something out of them that nobody else would in the first 10 minutes, of meeting a person. We've had that experience so many times. Like you speak to a person for 20 minutes, you know so much about them, nobody else would get out of them, and knowing them for years. So that's like a superpower. I truly believe that.
Well, thank you. I think it's like an old soul. Here I am talking about age again. I thought that together with you, we can do a great job for the company that we worked for. And I was right, because you always had my back, always had my back. And I believe that I always had your back while training you, and, through the stumbles and through every project that we had together. I remember the format that we worked in. I know that when I traveled, you always would hold down the fort with clients, with bosses, with my family. It's still like that for me. And then at one point, you kept asking me, listen, you're doing all this on your own. You're doing all this, and why don't you just go out and really do it on your own? You kept asking me, and you planted the seed. You planted the seed, which grew, and at the tender age of 48, I came up to you and I said, I'm ready. You want to come? It was basically that kind of a conversation, a 2-minute conversation. You knew what I was talking about. You knew what I meant. And we left. We left on amazingly good note. We were very forthcoming with our bosses. We left. I think we left well.
I'd like to think so.
I'd like to think so. Judging by the fact that we still talk to our bosses, I think that our ex-bosses, I think that was a pretty good way of doing it. And we didn't take a Rolodex with us. We created our own.
That is true.
And for me, that's important, because you and I, throughout the years, we have witnessed and felt disappointment of training people, giving them the profession that we have, a profession which will feed them for many, many years, because Canada is still the land of immigrants. And then they leave in a lie, and then they live in a lie. So that was disappointing, but unfortunately, we got used to it, and we're just plunging along. So when we left, shortly thereafter, our partner joined us, and all three of us, being extremely different women, somehow managed to build.
That's the strength.
That's the strength.
That's the strength.
We turned it into a strength. So we like to laugh at it. We like to say that every meeting ends up with 3 opinions. Starts with 1, ends in 3 opinions. But somehow we find a solution to every problem. Problems arise where you expect it and when you do not expect it. And I think that we kind of mobilize ourselves when we encounter problems. I think we're at our best.
It's that leap of faith. It's not jumped once. It happens almost every day. Taking on hard cases, taking on something new, something that's new to us, something very difficult. You understand that it's a person's life. It's a huge responsibility. And a lot of times, like, you need that hand holding each other and like, yeah, we can do this. We will be able to do it. We'll do it together. That kind of camaraderie means so much. And this is why I think we take on hard cases, like different cases than everybody else is. And this is why we're known for it.
Well, we're also known to be more expensive than other consulting firms, but, I find that it's to tie into your comment that we take difficult cases. When people come to us, they're damaged, meaning their story is already difficult. There have been refusals, they've been disappointments, they've simply been lied to, their money taken, wrong steps by fault of their own and not by fault of their own. So by the time they come to us, we need to fix somebody else's mistakes, and it's easier to make your own and fix it rather than fix somebody else's.
Absolutely.
And do we charge for it? Yes. And how do you measure if we're more expensive or less expensive? Who do you compare us to? What kind of service are you expecting to get? So by the time they come to us, it's a difficult case, 99.9%, and something always comes up. So even when you think, slam dunk, it's just, you do this, and that, something, 100% of the time, something comes out of the woodwork.
Let's talk about interesting cases, because we call them difficult. Sometimes they're more difficult than others, but we get so much interesting stuff, something we actually brag to our friends about, without naming the names, of course. Some of the most interesting cases that happened to us, for example, the special grant of citizenship we've done for athletes that are now competing on Olympic level.
That's an interesting case where they had to get over the timelines. We had to kind of fast tracking, because we kind of we explained to the government of Canada, listen, this guy's going to be your guy. This guy is going to be Canadian. Like, why do you want to leave this talent somewhere else? And he cannot perform on behalf of Canada if he doesn't hold a Canadian citizenship. So this had to be presented in an appropriate fashion in order to convince, in order to properly relay. We didn't have to do any convincing because we had facts, documented facts. And I'm proud of that, for sure.
That was definitely a huge win. Talking about citizenship, it's not a particular case, but something that we recently learned, but it kind of became stumbled upon that experience. Language requirement. Since language requirement became mandatory for applicants 18 to 54 years old, so applicants over 54 are no longer required to take language test. And for those that are not taking language tests but are attending courses, you kind of put a check mark on it and think, requirement is fulfilled. However, the officers still may want to talk to the applicant, which happened, and they still want to do their own assessment of the language. So this is not to be taken lightly. Those courses are not always, enough to fulfill the language requirement for citizenship. So this is one of hard conversations we need to have with our clients applying for citizenship.
I think we need to remember any program in Canada, any immigration program, whether it be temporary or permanent, does not oblige the officer to be satisfied with document checklist. It's just not sufficient. Particularly grant of citizenship. It's a privilege to be allowed to apply, and the panel kind of votes on whether or not you are worthy enough to receive.
The word grant is in it.
The word grant, and 99.9% of applicants who retain us in order to assist with the citizenship really need to be explained this way of thinking and why we have such a list of documents that they need in support, why they're being questioned, why they're being, lots of people feel offended by being questioned, by their facts being checked, by their documents being scrutinized. They feel offended, and they need to understand from the get-go, you don't have the right to obtain Canadian citizenship. You're granted the opportunity to apply, and you have to satisfy the government of Canada that you will be a proud Canadian, that you come to Canada with the right background, with the right knowledge of the country and of the English language.
Absolutely.
Or French.
One of just thinking of like hard questions from clients. Just yesterday, we were talking about a case with client about their case. It's a spousal sponsorship. And we were talking about what kind of documents can be submitted as proof of relationship, going back to the question about standard document checklist. And he was almost appalled by the question. You're questioning my relationship with my wife. We have 3 children together. And he said, of course, I don't question your relationship with your wife, but let's think the way the officer thinks. The fact that you have 3 children together means you were in relationship during, making those 3 children. It doesn't mean that you're still in a relationship. So let's prove something more recent. Also, if you had 3 children, why didn't you sponsor 20 years ago? So, which now brings us to the question of intent to reside to Canada. So it's a balancing act between these 2 issues, and no standard document checklist will cover that. It's a conversation with the client, and then thinking of how to highlight and explain both these items without contradicting each other.
That's a very interesting comment. People sometimes feel that they have retained us, they had given us their money in order to lead the case, and they think that we will be doing this on our own. I try to explain to our potential clients that we are partners in this endeavor, and they need to at least do what we ask of them. If not, think about their case and what else they can give us, but at least abide by what we asked of them. So just a standard, there's no such thing. Let me begin by saying there's no such thing. There is no standard list of documents, or there shouldn't be. And if a consultant or a lawyer or a friend says to them, here, just get it off the internet, it's a standard list of documents. Every single case is not standard. Just like when you sponsor your spouse and you feel you need to go to Niagara Falls and take a few pictures with that spouse, it doesn't ring true. If you want to go to Applebee's, if you want to go to Tim Hortons, if you want to go and have a lavish party, it's still a real marriage. So when an officer looks at the application, don't wait for him to ask questions. You make it real, make it look real, sound real, do everything ahead of time. By the time we are asked a question to provide additional documents on behalf of the client, it's a little bit too late. It means the officer is questioning the authenticity of the facts provided.
That is true for every type of application. I've got citizenship on my mind today. Talking about accuracy of information and documents provided, I feel that of course it's important with every type, but with citizenship, this is where accuracy becomes the most important, I feel, because applications are being checked, are being returned for the smallest missed tick somewhere on the application. This grant of citizenship is somewhere where it's returned 4 or 5 months later. This is opportunity you missed to have a Canadian passport earlier. So with these kind of applications, our job is to make sure it's through the very first time without additional questions and, God forbid, being returned.
It's interesting that people, if you want to talk about citizenship, not my favorite subject, but I'll talk about it. People ask questions like, if something changes in my marital status, in my family, while the application is pending, should I tell the government about it? Yes. The answer is always yes. You can't say, oh, I didn't know. Oh, I got married or I got divorced, because everything is part of a picture that the officer is building for themselves when looking at your application. When assessing your application, everything needs to make sense. So, are you worthy of being the holder of a Canadian citizenship? And if you are not forthcoming, if you don't tell the truth, not knowing that you need to inform the government of the fact that your family situation had changed, is not a good enough reason not to inform them. So it's our obligation to tell our clients ahead of time. Something changes, either you had a baby, or you got married, or you got divorced. We need to tell us. We know the way to tell the government. We know what to do about it, but you need to tell us, because it will come back and bite them on the behind in the long run. It always comes out, always.
One of the most popular questions during processing, can I travel? Should I travel? Should I advise? Am I allowed? I feel this is the most one of the most popular questions. And there's definitely no standard answer to that one. It depends on what kind of application. Is it an inside Canada application? Is it a temporary? Is your temporary status in Canada right now tied to this application, maintained status? Is it a refugee case and you're traveling to home country? That's, of course, is a sensitive topic. So, of course, it's a greater story. It's always a complicated.
To tie this into what I'm about to say is at the first interview, when people come to consult, a lot of the times they cannot identify the goal. You'd think they know what they want. So they'll come like a 45-year-old man will come and say to me, I would like to apply for a study permit. And I'm looking at him. This gentleman has a master's degree. And all of a sudden he wants to, like a master's degree in engineering from back home. And now he wants to study hotel management in Canada. So I'm asking him, why do you want to get a study permit? Do you want to be working in hospitality industry? Is this your dream? Is this what you've been hoping for when you came to? No. That's not what I want. I want to be able to work part-time. Later on, I would like to bring my wife and my children. And this is when I said, okay, so are you looking for permanent residence in Canada? Is this your goal? And he thinks about it and says, yes, of course it's my goal, presuming that it's evident to me. And yet he comes up with a question on how to get a study permit. And it's our job to navigate this conversation to let the client know that you are into it. You're so much into it. You understand what he wants.
How many times we convinced our clients, sometimes clients need convincing, to change program of study because they chose something they were told will work for study permit and PR, and it was nowhere near their actual interest or budget or something they actually wanted to study. You can simply talk about a different program, something that makes more sense to you in the long run, not just for your immigration study permits. You are obtaining very expensive education, quality education, may as well lighten up with your future plans.
That's the thing. I also try to relay the fact that don't chase the rules, because they're going to change. Chase your goals. Chase your goals. We will adapt. We will find the rule that is appropriate for your goal. We will accommodate you. Tell us what you want. Let's not be taking the wrong a course, or let's not start obtaining a job that you don't need and you're just doing it for the purpose of obtaining PR in the future. By the time you're done with this, short-term goal. You lose the long-term goal. You lose the opportunity to reach it.
Absolutely. On that note, you're definitely coming again. We're definitely doing this again.
I work for food. I want lunch. That's why I'm here.
By the way, it's lunchtime. We would love to hear, what are the topics of interest? Where would you like our opinion? Where would you like our comments? Specific questions. We would love to answer them. We're waiting for your comments. Thank you.
Thank you.